For 2,000 years, he has been absent from everyone's eyes, and many researchers around the world are still attempting to unravel the great, unsolved mystery behind him. The Ark of the Covenant contains the 2 tablets that Moses received on Mount Sinai. It is not a statue or a picture, but an idea, words that express the fundamental values of the Israeli nation, and in fact of the entire world. The Ark of the Covenant is mentioned more than 200 times in the Bible. It first appears in the book of Exodus, chapter 25, when Moses, standing on the summit of Mount Sinai, receives precise instructions from God on how to build it. Over the generations since its glorious opening episode in the desert, the Ark has become the holiest religious accessory mentioned in the Bible. The status and importance of the Holy Ark can be learned from the description of King David dancing in front of it hundreds of years later in Jerusalem. David was dancing before the Lord with all his might, while he and all Israel were bringing up the Ark of the Lord with shouts and the sound of trumpets. 2 Samuel 6 verses 14 to 15. The story of the Ark of the Covenant begins when the ancient nations of the Middle East used to store tablets, as contracts and covenants were written, in a special box that was located in the temple, under the statue of God. The Ark is mentioned in the Bible by several names, including the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark of the Testimony, the Ark of the Lord, and the footstool of our God. The Ark was built in the desert by Bezalel according to the precise instructions given to Moses at Mount Sinai, who accompanied the people of Israel on their journey through the desert. In Exodus 25, its contents, size, and appearance are described in great detail. The priests carried the Ark during the Israelites' wanderings in the desert, and when they crossed the Jordan, it proved its efficacy when the waters of the Jordan parted. While the water flowing down to the Sea of the Arabah was completely cut off. So the people crossed over opposite Jericho. Joshua 3 verse 16. Later, he even caused the walls of Jericho to fall, thus conquering the city. After the land was conquered, the Ark was placed in a temporary tent in Shiloh. However, when it was taken to the battlefield against the Philistines near Aphek, it failed to bring salvation. The Israelis were defeated, and it was the worst outcome. The Ark fell into the hands of the Philistines, but then an interesting chain of events began. As a result, 75,000 Philistines died from a plague that moved from one Philistine temple to another, between Ashdod, Gath, and Ekron, causing severe plagues everywhere. After 7 months, the Philistines decided to return the coffin to the people of Israel. However, even in its return, it did not bring a blessing, and the people of Bet Shemesh died in a severe plague. The Ark of the Covenant then moved to Kiryat Yearim, where it stayed for 20 years. After David declared Jerusalem as his capital, he went up to Kiryat Yearim to bring the Ark of the Covenant from there. The Bible describes how the Ark almost fell off the wagon on the way. Uzzah, Abinadab's son, attempted to prevent the coffin from falling, and died on the spot. In response, David stopped the caravan and placed it aside in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite for 3 months. David suspected that the coffin was causing death again, so he isolated it again. But when David finally brought him to Jerusalem, he put him in a tent near the Gin spring. The exact location of the tent was not specified, but it is possible that it meant a secluded place. Until King Solomon built the temple, and then the Ark of the Covenant was placed in the Holy of Holies, a place that only the high priest could enter once a year. It seems that the memory of the Ark of the Covenant as a cause of death remained strong in the Jewish consciousness, even hundreds of years after it disappeared. Unlike the other temple vessels, which can be remade, the Ark of the Covenant, which has disappeared, cannot be restored. In the Second Temple, there was no ark in the Holy of Holies at all. We will try to follow the 5 possible paths of this important tool in Judaism. 1. Taken to Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar. That is what the commentators of the Bible learn from the verse that tells about Jehoiakim's exile. 2 Chronicles 36 verse 10. In the spring, King Nebuchadnezzar sent for him and brought him to Babylon, together with articles of value from the temple of the Lord. And what vessel of greed was more important than the Ark of the Covenant in the temple? However, there are contradictions to this. If the Ark of the Covenant had been revealed to Babylon, it would have been specifically mentioned and appears at the top of Nebuzaradan booty, given in the book of 2 Kings 11. 2. The coffin stayed in its place, in underground chambers beneath the Holy of Holies. The Ark of the Covenant remained in its place in the Holy of Holies and was only buried in the underground chambers beneath it. One of the great commentators of the Bible wrote, when Solomon built the temple, he knew it would end with a sword, so he built a place to store the ark at the bottom of the ground in deep and crooked ways. King Josiah then ordered that it be hidden in the place that Solomon built. According to the Jerusalem city engineer in the 19th century, caves can be found under the drinking stone in the dome of the rock. According to him, a cave was carved under the rock at the top of the Temple Mount, and it contains a deep pit in the floor, known by Muslims as the Pit of the Spirits. Could this be where the Ark of the Covenant is hidden? 3. He was buried by Jeremiah on Mount Nebo. In a letter sent to the Israelites living in Egypt, which was restored by the residents of Jerusalem, it is written that the prophet Jeremiah, moments before the destruction of Solomon's temple by Babylon, hid the Ark of the Covenant on Mount Nebo. And this was also written because God instructed them to carry the tent of meeting and the ark with them. And when they came to the mountain that Moses had ascended to see the land, Jeremiah then found a cave and hid the ark, an altar of incense in it, and sealed its entrance. Some of the people who went with him asked him to make a sign for them because they could not find the cave. Jeremiah heard this and rebuked them, saying, "Let no one know the place until God gathers his people and gives them mercy. Then the Lord will reveal the place, and his glory will shine in the cloud, as it did in the days of Moses and Solomon, when we begged the Lord to sanctify him." Taken from the 2nd Maccabees book. 4. In Aksum, northern Ethiopia. Is the Ark of the Covenant hidden in Ethiopia? Does the Church, Mary of Zion, have one of the most important and sought-after biblical items in the world, the Ark of the Covenant containing the 10 Commandments and Aaron's staff? The Ark, which has not been seen since the destruction of the First Temple, was perhaps the most important of the temple vessels and is considered the main seat of divine spirit. Bible scholars are convinced that the Ark of the Covenant was smuggled from its original location under the Temple Mount all the way to Africa, by the Israelites who were expelled from Israel during the reign of Manasseh. For a long time, Christian monks in the African country claimed that the Ark was being kept in the Church, Mary of Zion. There is a belief that the keeper of the Ark, known as the Keeper of the Ark of the Covenant, spends his life within the fenced area surrounding the church. According to him, he will not leave the compound until his death, or until another guard takes over his position. According to him, he is the only person who is allowed to look at the Ark of the Covenant, since it is a sacred object. 5. At the site of David's tomb. 2 Chronicles 35 verse 3. He said to the Levites, who instructed all Israel and who had been consecrated to the Lord, "Put the sacred ark in the temple that Solomon son of David king of Israel built. It is not to be carried about on your shoulders. Now serve the Lord your God and his people Israel." The verse refers to King Josiah, one of the last kings of the house of David. It is mentioned in the context of the precedent-setting Passover celebration that Josiah held for the entire congregation of Israel. It was concluded that the Ark of the Covenant was not in its place in the Holy of Holies at that time, otherwise, there would have been no need to bring it from another place. Where did they have to get the Ark from? Apparently, it was from the site of the tombs of the kings of the house of David. The original tombs of the house of David were located in the city of David, but starting from the days of King Manasseh, Josiah's grandfather, they were no longer buried there, likely due to a lack of space. In 2 Kings 21 verse 18 it is written, Manasseh rested with his ancestors and was buried in his palace garden, the Garden of Uzzah. If the Babylonian Nebuzaradan did not loot these treasures, it means that he was unaware of the burial caves in the city of David, which were then empty. Manasseh moved the tombs of the dynasty's sons, along with their treasures, to the new burial estate. It is not unreasonable to assume that he also moved other treasures there, namely the national treasure, the Ark of the Covenant. Apparently, Manasseh dug a complicated, labyrinthine cave there, in which he sought to hide the kingdom's assets, both financial and spiritual, and to protect them from the conquering hands of those from the north or south. The Ark of the Covenant was certainly not any less important than the other treasures. After all, it was both a financial asset, made of pure gold, and a national asset, the first object that the Babylonians were willing to lay their hands on. Consequently, the effort was successful. Nebuchadnezzar's people did not find the new tomb plot, and thus, did not take its treasures with them to Babylon. Only once, the ark was brought from its hiding place by the Levites who had been consecrated to the Lord, those who knew where it lay, to its place in the Holy of Holies during the Passover in the days of Josiah, as mentioned. From then on, the king informed the Levites, "You have no burden to bear." From that point onward, the coffin was left in its hiding place. Perhaps, even to this day, it remains there. We hope you learned something new today. If you did, give this video a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more informative and entertaining content. See you next time.